Hello, traders and investors. It's Rod with Power Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth for a daily market recap. Today's a recap for Friday, June 4th. Happy Friday. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing as the topic of the day, DocuSign Inc. So Docu stock, it was up over 20% at one point. So congrats to the bulls first and foremost. They absolutely crushed their earnings, which we'll look at here in just a second. But before we jump in, make sure to smash the like and subscribe to the channel. Going to run through some news and events like we normally do. And then we'll look at the broader market and we'll look at the DocuSign chart as well. And I'll put some timestamps in the description below. So moving over some news and events on the day. The U.S. stock futures rise after solid job gains in May. So that came in at a huge beat. And I can't remember what it was now, but 559,000 versus an estimate of 671. Fell short, but that was way better than the disappointing 266,000 payrolls added in April. Canada lost 68,000 jobs in May, and unemployment rate rose to 8.2% as the reopening prospects start to look brighter and brighter. The Pentagon wants to use private rockets like SpaceX's Starship to deliver cargo around the world. So I found that pretty cool. You can check out that article if you want to know more on that. Mudra Capital also no longer owns debt or equity in AMC, sources say, and the stock was getting slammed today. Square CEO Jack Dorsey says the company is considering a new hardware Bitcoin wallet. Let me know if you think this is a big deal. I think this is huge, and they would obviously sell a ton of them. So, and I know a lot of people have those Ledger Nano S's, but they can only store up to about 5 on each one. So we'll see what type of hardware it comes out with, type of features, that type of thing, and how it compares to the Ledger Nano. But super bullish on this news, and I think the more that these big companies start to push this, the more it's going to drive adoption. And I do think that we have a huge wave of adoption coming just ahead of us. So on the DocuSign chart and the earnings today, so they absolutely destroyed these earnings. The revenue was forecasted at 437.63 million, came in at 469.08 million. And the EPS there at 0.278 estimate came in at 0.44. And it looks like it's beaten it every single time on all of our metrics here, except one time back in September 5th. But this is a strong stock. I've been absolutely bullish since the beginning and never stopped being bullish, but we did see quite a sell-off there in the last recent months, but that's because tech stocks just absolutely taking a beating, which is not surprising as QQQ, the ETF, was down dramatically as well. But this stock is one that I'm extremely bullish on for the long term, and we'll look at the chart in just a moment. But do want to run through the crypto space here and the broader market real quick. So back in 15-minute uptrends across the board. So it looks like our 4-hour high or low is set, and Bitcoin did close over EMA 12, but had to come down and form a higher low here as we regain some composure and try to basically just get ready to break this resistance at 40,900. So we're just basically cooling down, charging the batteries, and we'll look to break above 40,900. If we do, that confirms a daily uptrend, and then at that point our weekly consolidation and our weekly low is set. But we are in a downtrend technically here with a lower high and a lower low, so we'll want to change that daily trend ASAP. Moving on to the broader market, so SPY at an all-time high weekly record close, hit a new all-time high today as well. So the level to break was the double top at 422.82 and then 422.72, and then today we had a high of 422.92. And at this point, it's a possible daily bull flag. And if we look up to where we're potentially heading, it looks like we could be heading to around the 432, 435 area. And we'll want to see confirmation follow through on Monday, but set up for a gap up, closing near the high of the day, and our new daily high or low established now at 416.28 and held EMA 26 on that pullback. So moving on, the dollar is pulling back, but daily uptrend confirmed. So again, that is not what we want to see if we're bullish in stocks. If you're bearish in stocks, then yes, you want to see strength in the dollar. But generally, dollar weakness leads to strength in the overall broader market in terms of stocks and assets, that type of thing. IWM broke the high of yesterday, but pulled back. QQQ closed near the high, so nice recovery there on QQQ. But essentially, it's a triple top here now on QQQ. SMH Nice bounce as well, but failed to break resistance. So we need to be cautious here. Possible lower highs, especially on SMH. A little bit of an upper wick there. So the semiconductor ETF. US oil was strong again today. And we've got about 14 minutes left of this daily candle, but no daily consolidation really down till 61.58. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a bit of a a broader market sell-off, just with most things extended at all-time highs or testing double tops or lack of support on most of these daily time frames. Gold and silver bouncing back. So silver's an inside bar here on the daily after holding EMA 26 on the previous daily close, and here we are set to potentially close above EMA 12. So nice recovery there. Gold, we lost EMA 26 and started daily consolidation again today, but we are bouncing back and looking to close above that moving average on the exponential moving average on the 26 period there on the daily. Nice recovery though from the bulls, but at this point it's a weekly bull flag. So we'll just reset that chart. So it's a weekly bull flag, and if we confirm this, we'd be heading up to around the $2,000 level. And we have a lack of weekly resistance up until 1959, so I could definitely see a push to $2,000 and potential for all-time highs in sight here into the end of the year. And again, I think that if we see real weakness in the dollar, I think that gold is going to continue to go up, and Bitcoin and crypto in general. But I do think that crypto and stocks have one last final push before we see any real consolidation. XLV, any real bear market, I guess, or any real significant consolidation, which I'll bring up in just a second. But XLV still in a daily downtrend. Need to be cautious of lower highs here as well, and we could see an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross. XLE, the energy sector, has been strong off the backdrop of oil strength. And XLF, the financial sector, daily inside bar, but still holding up well and just right near all-time highs. So again, everything pretty much at all-time highs, but we need to be cautious, right? Now's the time when, there's no major red flags or anything like that, but we need to be cautious. We've been, holding the EMAs, so we haven't closed below EMA 26 since the March lows of 2020. And once we lose and close a candle below EMA 12, that will be notable. But if we close a candle below EMA 26, that's going to be the first time since this massive recovery. Here we are from 218 all the way up to 422, almost 423, but that's almost 100% gains in just over a year. And just keep in mind, we haven't consolidated on the monthly. Again, this isn't just spread fear. This is just me being a realist. How long did it take before we consolidated on this monthly move? So we ran 62%, and it took 6 months before we finally saw consolidation. And then from the low here to the high, it has now been 9 months, and we saw 33% move. So we're cooling off a little bit. So usually the more we run to the upside, the less percentage gains there are to be had because of the multiplier effect and just momentum wanes. But at this point, we've gone 9 months in a row now. You can't help but wonder, well, we know we're due for monthly consolidation. So what happens if that's just around the corner? And we'll watch for the low of the previous monthly candle to be broken. So we just started the month of June, so we've got a ton of time left in this monthly candle. So the monthly low of the previous month, so May, is going to be extremely important at 404. If we lose 404, monthly consolidation will be under the way, the first time since back here in September. And then we have a lack of support on the moving average, on the monthly 10-month moving average, on the EMA 12, and then EMA 26 down at 345. We got EMA 12 at 378. And we also have our previous all-time highs here at 339. So I wouldn't be completely surprised if we were to see a back test of that previous all-time high at some point. And that would means we would be dropping about 20% from here. So that means that some individual names could see some really significant downside, right? If the ETF that's tracking the broader market drops 10, 20% over the course of a few weeks or months, what's that going to mean for individual stocks, right? So again, just keep in mind that we haven't even really seen that much consolidation. And I mentioned this to private members today in the group. Just take a look at what usually happens on the first sign of monthly consolidation after a massive move. So we ran 80%. And then the first time we consolidated on a monthly, we dropped around 15 to 20%. Then we ran 36% and we dropped over 20%. And then this big bull move here we ran about 100%, and then we pulled back 15%, and then the second time we pulled back even more, over 15%, and then here on this example, we run 60%, we drop another 10, and then we run another 10, and then we drop 20, and then we're starting this megaphone pattern now. So I guess I already had it drawn out, but again, the volatility is picking up, and the more that we start, and if you believe in 90-year super cycles, that type of thing, I'm not going to get into all of those theories, but essentially when you have these broadening patterns and this megaphone pattern, that usually means that you're going to come back down into the middle or maybe even test support, but we are breaking out of this megaphone pattern, sort of negating that, but we'll want to come back down and set. The difference is we did come back and back test it, but we didn't really consolidate because we held the lows. So the next time that we lose the low, I think is going to be really important because we're coming off an all-time high. We're extended. We have bearish RSI divergence, which happened back in the dot-com bust. We had RSI trending off while the price was trending up, and that's happening again now. And again, it took about a couple of years after it peaked here for it to happen in the stock market, the dot-com bubble. So after it peaked, it took about 2 years for it to really crash. So it's the same deal here. And again, it's going to be extremely important when we consolidate here, because when we lose the previous low, then we're going to be in monthly consolidation mode versus back here when we didn't even break the previous low. We weren't even pulling back on the monthly. So this time, that's going to create a bit more fear in the market. And as we know, fear drives the market. And on the way up, that is hype and FOMO and greed. So going to be interesting to see when fear kicks in on monthly consolidation, if we hold this support, the previous resistance become new support. We also have EMA 12 there as well. I could expect it to potentially test it, hold it on the first attempt, set a lower high, and then a monthly lower low, and maybe that's what starts the bear market. But again, no one has a crystal ball, and just that's my scenario. My portfolio is long, net long pretty much for the most part, but I also have a significant hedge with a SPY short in case, because I don't think my positions that I have are really going to see significant downside unless SPY sees significant downside. So I'm hedging with a fairly large SPY short, but I am net long. And just, again, we don't know when it's going to happen, but we know it's coming eventually. Soon we will see a monthly pullback and some significant consolidation, and you just need to be ready for it. And you don't want to be caught with a deer in the headlights, because then you'll start to make decisions based off emotions. So ending rant, moving on to DocuSign. So DocuSign led the bull list today, up 20% essentially at one point, over 20%, and from the low of yesterday, almost 22%. So back here we were in a daily downtrend. So obviously stocks, tech stocks that were heavily targeted as bulls and just ran hundreds of percent, saw a massive downside with the massive tech sell-off, and we confirmed a weekly downtrend. We were in a daily downtrend, but the signal was when we came back down to the 179 area, we had the low, high, higher low here at 183.09, and then when we broke 192.58, that confirmed a daily uptrend. You could have entered at 190, even 200. Once we got over 200, you could have entered with a stop below the low here at 183, risk about 17 cents to make upwards of, we'll just do a percentage here. So risk about 5% to make 20%. So that is good risk to reward, right? 4-1. So daily bull cross as well on the EMAs, but they have already crossed bullish, and just time to be cautious here. We were next to resistance at 236.11. We get as high as 234.89. So it's entirely possible that we see an inside bar on Monday and a pullback. I wouldn't be surprised in the least. We have no daily support down until 193.66 and 200 psychological, which is sitting pretty much right there with the EMAs as well. So just be cautious going into next week. But if we do get over 236, there's a lack of resistance until 246. If we get over 236, a lack of resistance until 246, and then really 275. On the weekly chart, we're extremely bullish as well. We're over the 10-week moving average. Stochastic and MACD have crossed bullish, and we have since regained the 50 weekly moving average as well, closing at the high of the weekly candle, closing over that moving average. That's extremely bullish. would be extremely surprised if we didn't see upside in the medium to long term, but it's entirely possible that we see an inside bar and a temporary pullback on the daily time frame and the shorter time frames. But getting over all of the moving averages here on the daily and a massive candle, super bullish candle, right, on the weekly and the daily. So this is a name we've been extremely bullish on, getting over the weekly VWAP as well. So hard to find a chart much bullish than I was going to say bullier than DocuSign. It's Friday. Happy Friday. I'm excited for the weekend. It's been a long week. But on the bull list, we had Zoom, LEV, Tesla. And on the bear list, we had BlackBerry, AMC, and NEXE. So going to end it there. I did want to mention real quick that BlackBerry. So I know a lot of people just in the comment section of my videos, we had a ton of people comment on my previous BlackBerry video. I think it had almost 5,000 views now. But essentially, a lot of people were wondering why I sold and why I sold SNDL, and it was all for the same reason, right? AMC was basically leading that short squeeze, and once the short squeeze topped out on AMC, we had that bit of a blow-off candle there, and I said back on this day, on June 2nd, I said it's likely that we have a daily inside bar, and then that day I said it's likely we have another daily inside bar, and now we're breaking that inside bar bearish. Here we are down 10% after hours at 42.73. And now we're consolidating on the daily, right? So this is why I was telling people to be cautious, because once fear starts to pick up, right? Once people get fearful of AMC selling off, well, guess what? They say, oh, well, BlackBerry and SNDL have all been moving in tandem with that as well, have been very correlated to one another as they've been highly targeted names for shorts. And we're seeing that fear just spread. It doesn't mean they always have to correlate. News and things like that can change it. But in this instance, I wouldn't be surprised if BlackBerry was down. Here we go, down over 5% now. So again, this is the exact reason SNDL still sitting at 109, but MJ has been strong lately, right? Because of the prospect of US, and I'm going to do another video here shortly on the MJ sector review. But again, I was telling people to be uber cautious, and this is the reason why. And a lot of people were, why would you sell SNDL? The short squeeze hasn't even started yet. I don't get that, because we went from 65 cents, although we ran 130%. So I was averaging in around $1 all the way down to 80 cents. So I had an average of about 90 cents. So from 90 cents, right? And I was just doing a swing. Some people are long-term. If you're a long-term holder, this is different. But if you're a day trader, a swing trader, well, I entered with an average of 90, sold at around 140. That's 55% gains in just a couple weeks, and then I rotated that profit back into Hexo, I think it was, right? So I'll do a in-depth video on this in the MJ sector review. But again, we needed to be cautious, and this is a prime example of why. An AMC CEO basically said today that they're open to doing even more stock raises. So these are all things that you need to be expecting when stocks run hundreds and hundreds of percent in a matter of weeks and months. The management and the executives are going to take advantage of the higher share prices and use it as an opportunity to raise funds. So hopefully you didn't get too burned by that. And again, make sure to smash a like, subscribe to the channel, tick the bell, right? You'll be notified whenever I give these early heads up. But if you would have been watching my videos for the last 3 days or so, pretty much everything that I said panned out. I sold BlackBerry over $16. Yes, I didn't hit the $20 mark, but again, you can't always time the top. And then today I was able to reload about 20% cheaper, right? So, and re-entered again with the profits of that prior trade. I made about 40% on my BlackBerry trade, and then sold, took the profits, re-entered 20% cheaper with the profits, right? So now it's a free trade, and I'll move on to the next opportunity. But congrats to the bulls and bears that made a profit today, regardless of the direction you were looking in. So thanks so much for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth for a daily market recap, and we'll see you a little bit later on for an MJ sector review.